All right, today on the pod, we got Ant Wright. You guys should all know Ant Wright breaks down Michigan constantly. And I just got done watching your Periscope versus Arizona, Michigan versus Arizona, tough game for Michigan. And the one thing I noticed is that I think you said they just played 10 guys in the first 12 minutes. Like, what's going on with the rotations and all that?
That was like a really weird thing. And I don't think it was a situation where guys were tired from the first night because they only played 8 that night. But like they didn't play the following day. Like they had an off day and then they played. So them playing 10 guys in the first 12 minutes and then they played 11 because Kobe Buffkin was the 11th guy. When he came in the first half, that was 11 guys played. I pretty much was like, Juwan doesn't know what he has right now. He doesn't know which rotations work. And then he threw Frankie Collins into the rotation. So I think he was trying to see what guys work best with Frankie. Things that, you would have rather seen against maybe Prairie View, maybe not Arizona.
Right.
Going through that many lineups in that shorter period of time, really nobody can get acclimated to each other, and it was pretty strange to see. It was pretty strange, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's my only thing. Like I like it. There's pros and cons to every decision you make, but I like it from the standpoint of like, all right, well, let's see what we got out there. But then you get rotations that never played together, guard combos that have barely played minutes together, big, what have you. And it's like, well, then how are you really supposed to figure out like if something's just going to stick magically for like 5 minutes against Arizona and then you're going to go from there? Like, I don't know if that's certainly the way, but, if you're sending a message to say like Devontae, we're like, all right, I'll play Frankie, then, maybe that's something, that you need. I think it's kind of a mix of both where you can send messages to guys like Hunter and Devontae and, Eli doesn't need it, but Eli, because they're older, but then it's like, right. A Caleb Houston is different. And, you don't really need to kind of light a fire under his butt. You need to foster his talent and make him confident. So there's like there's a balancing act that I don't really envy Juwan with.
Right. I'm with you there. And like, kind of like putting it back to our experience in college, Beeline was always, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but whenever we would go to whether it was like the NCAA tournament or whether it was like a tournament somewhere, he was always big on playing like 9 or 10 guys in the first half to make sure that the 7 or 8 guys had legs going into the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this was that. Because I was like, maybe it could be that where he was trying to save legs for the second half. But it seriously looked like they were trying to figure out what they had and, who they had. And that's tough in game 5. I feel like you should see some sort of trajectory of improving, like each game steadily. I watch a lot of Big Ten and, Michigan fans probably hate to hear this, but when I'm watching Michigan State, I mean, from their Kansas game to the game that they just played, they've gotten so much better. They've defined a lot of roles. They've locked down a rotation, and they've just gotten better every single game in terms of trying to find their identity. I still don't know what Michigan's identity is right now.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but you would want to see some cohesiveness, more and more cohesiveness along the way for sure.
I hate that I'm going to use this cliche because it's just been played out for me over and over again, but it's, they took a heavyweight hit and, the second game, they talk about like coaches. I don't know. Mahoney was big on this. He's like, you take that first hit and then you shake it off and you get back into it. And it's like, what? I'm not taking a hit from Tyson. Like, all right. But it's like, Arizona, they're still a little shaken up. And, they got that first hit. They got tested with Buffalo, they took their first hit with their first loss. And then Arizona, I think they're still just a little shaken. I think you see that from a confidence standpoint. I mean, it's like Eli in particular can be more aggressive. And I think he's not used to it. So he's like, well, I know the other guys need to be aggressive. We need the other guys to produce. in order to like be successful, but like I have to do this because we're not being successful in the moment. Like it's such a weird position for each of the players. And I think, I don't know. I mean, you mentioned it in the Periscope, like January and February, that's where it's at. That's where it's most important. After that's where it starts being really important. And yeah, they got a lot to figure out. What do you think, like on offense? I got some suggestions myself, but like, what do you think they can do on offense because their offense, like what was I looking at? 56. Now this is all contextual and pace based. Like their 56 field goal attempts in the country is 288th. Their shooting is 28.3% from three. It's 299th in the country. Again, all contextual. They're getting the free throw line really well, but they're just seem to not be getting shots, by the numbers, and even when you're watching it by the eye test, like there's just not a lot of flow. Like, what are you seeing that they can improve on?
Yeah, just not like already the way that the roster is constructed. I'm going to ask you, how many shooters are on their team?
I mean, Devontae's shooting well. Eli's shooting well. You can call Eli a shooter now. And then Houston, who's, going through his freshman beginning struggles. But like that's kind of where you're looking.
Right. Like the fact that, you're saying, okay, like Devontae, he was 3 for 7 coming into the fifth game. So he's not taking.
Yeah. No, he's not even taking it.
Right. He's not even like taking many. So it's like the way that this roster's constructed, it sucks when your best player is a big man.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. Yeah.
Like Hunter needs spacing. Musa needs spacing.
Yep.
Even guys like Devontae, who can really get you off the dribble, need spacing. Right now, their life is a lot harder because there's no spacing. Like Devontae, when he beats one guy one-on-one, two converge because they're guarding non-shooters.
Yep.
And I am in a pickle right now because part of me says Eli Brooks needs to be more aggressive and really increase his role because he's the one guy on the perimeter who I feel who is rolling, who's confident, who can kind of do what he wants to do, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But on the other end, he's the one guy who's going to get you spacing. So he has to be off the ball more.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Yeah.
So what do you do there?
I don't know. Yeah.
What do you do?
I think you it's tough. It's tough on Eli. I think you have to get those other guys involved. You have to run more ball screens with Devontae. You have to. I was screaming for pin downs for Caleb. They ran one, I think, I don't remember where it was, end of the first half. And Caleb kind of bananaed it and didn't really use it confidently. But like that, the floor was wide open because you had two guys in the right corner, Caleb coming off from the left corner. I mean, the whole entire left half of the court was him and Hunter. He just didn't use it properly. And it was like, yeah, we need to put guys in spots where they're going to be most successful. And Eli is that guy where he's the, Swiss Army knife. He can do whatever you need, but you absolutely have to bring them along. Like Eli can go and I think get you 18, honestly, like on every night if that was his role. But without other guys being aggressive, I don't know where this Michigan team's going to go.
I'm with you on one thing for sure. I think Caleb is being put in too many situations where he has to create, and that's just not his game.
Right.
Get him into some two-man game, get him out of traffic, get him out of the middle third, get him on the left and the right third. And I would also say get him in, like you said, some pin downs, some quick hitters, get him reading screens. Can he read screens yet? I don't know. Yeah. Like if you shoot the gap, you fade. If he trails, you curl. If he hits the screen, you cut straight out. If he blocks you off, you cut back door. You know what I mean? So like little things like that. Like I need to see Caleb. He needs to start doing things that go with who he is as a player. I think right now they're treating him a bit like Franz when he's more of Isaiah, in my opinion, when it comes to getting buckets. Like Franz was low key. It's like low key pretty good in the pick and roll game, getting into traffic. He was just so long, right?
Yeah.
6'10", 7'5" wingspan.
He could just hold the ball in the lane and just look.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
Caleb's not a freak. He's probably 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
Good wingspan, but still, he's not a freak of nature when it comes to athleticism or his size. So getting him in more quick hitter sets and a lot more space.
What did we call it with Beeline the 5 entry where the guards cut through? Was it just
5 and 4?
5 and 4.
5 and 4.
So much 5. Juwan was running with Hunter.
Yeah,
and it's not surprising. Like I like it, but I see him catching almost like the free throw line, and then you got do these handoffs like a little past the elbow, and then it's like, you know, Eli gets one dribble, Devontae gets one dribble, and then the big guy's right there. Now, granted, Arizona was, you know, they're tall as hell.
They're huge.
Yeah, so it was tough. But it's, you know, there's not much space to roll. There's not really too much space to drive in terms of like going downhill. So it's I would like to see that starting higher, but yeah, there's just so much that they are trying to figure out. I think it's less it's a lot less motion than last year. Am I wrong on that? It's like a lot like more structured motion, I guess.
It is a more structured motion, and I think he wants them to play a bit, but the issue with this team is, you know, they don't have the shooting is just killing everything.
Yeah.
Like
it's spacing.
It's
like
it's killing everything. Like when you have Hunter and Mike in a pick and roll, or Hunter and Eli Brooks in a pick and roll, or Eli and Franz in a pick and roll, opposite are 40% shooters.
Right.
All of them.
It's so makes it
all of them. Difference. Now you have Eli in a pick and roll. Opposite, you have T. Will. I know he's been working on his shot, but he's never been, I am just a lights out shooter. He is a basketball player, right? Then opposite, you also have, you know, Caleb, who really can't hit a shot right now. So guys aren't really respecting like the false action. They'll be like, okay, pin down all you want, even if you catch it and shoot it, probably not going to make it. So I don't care, right? So you know how like Beeline labeled his shooters like 3+, 2s, 1s.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
I think I mentioned it on Periscope. One sec.
Yep.
So I think I mentioned it on Periscope. I said, or it was Green Room, but I said Michigan right now has one shooter that's a 3+, and that's Eli. Everybody else, you know how like JB had like 2+ or 2 or 2- for shooters based off of how your help is, who you closing out hard on, who are you kind of like not closing out on at all. They have a whole bunch of 2-. A whole bunch of 2-. So guys just are not getting respected.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I think it kind of feels like teams are treating Caleb more like a 3. I mean, like I don't see too many open shots because there's so many other, you know, 2- on the court. It's like you still can shade that way a little more, you know, even if he's not hitting, because there's just a lot of shots where I feel like he's forcing some 3s. I mean, I've seen a few air balls, and you know, this is just nerves. Like I am not worried about him at all. Like, you know, those guys get back to their groove eventually. It's going to happen, and he's too tall and too talented to not start hitting 3s.
How do you think their chemistry is, honestly?
I think it's like in terms of like
I think
on the court.
I think they're super talented. I think they're talented.
They have the talent needed for sure.
They have crazy talent, but like I'm just not seeing a lot of chemistry outside of like Musa and Hunter have decent chemistry. I think Eli has pretty good chemistry with Hunter, but I just don't see the chemistry with other guys. Like I don't see like defensively. How many times in the Arizona game did you see 2 guys on one person? Yeah, like it happened. Like I'm like, what? Like what is going on? Like this is just a communication thing. Sometimes you can communicate. Sometimes you could just know who you're about to switch with, and you just do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That there's so much of that. I wrote it down in my notes. It's like angles. Like it's literally a one step here, or you're like beeline ingrained this in my head. You're literally turned 10 degrees too far, and now you're already beat. It's like it's little stuff like that where they're
So
getting beat
little.
on.
People don't understand how little.
It's so little. And
Little.
especially when you're going to play tall guys where you don't
Yeah.
have that room for error to make up. And you're going to get beat on that lob dunk. Like it is very little. So I think kind of Arizona was a perfect storm to kind of beat them in terms of like what their deficiencies are right now. But yeah, a lot of that defensively, I saw like a lot of no man's land kind of ball screen defense, and then just kind of angles and stuff that'll just take time. Like Caleb Houston, he has the length, and I think he has the brain for it, but it just takes time and discipline. And I like their defense overall, though. To be honest, it's just kind of it's getting magnified because they're just not hitting threes.
Yes. And someone said against UNLV that Michigan's defense was Swiss cheese. I was like, well, UNLV shot like 39%. That's not exactly Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like the smallest things we're just not doing. Defensive transition right now is pretty rough too.
Yeah.
Guys aren't talking, guys aren't getting back and being able to like navigate who has what. They don't have, it's like some veteran teams can get away with not getting back right away because they know what their assignment is.
Right.
When a team is this young, I think you have to kind of over exaggerate, like on shot, like get to the other free throw line, point, and then fill out like on some like 5-star basketball camp stuff.
There was a funny one. You were like, Kobe, what are you doing? He ran and he just knocked down Brandon Johns straight to the floor. And I was like, oh, I've been there before. Just like, like when you're lost, you're like on break and you're like, damn it, I am lost. And you're scrambling and then you're like, your vision's blurry, and then all of a sudden you just ran into your own teammate, and it's like I feel bad, but you'll have that. Those are things you gotta figure out, and it's again like the 10-degree kind of turn. It's the half second sooner recognition of things. Like the half second sooner, literally a half second sooner. That's it. That's all you need for like that stuff and pre-switching and all that stuff. And I think they'll start to figure that out more as they go. And Big Ten's typically slower, so it's not like a huge learning curve there in terms of that. I did want to ask you about, this is the first time you talked about chemistry. This was like maybe the first time I saw Hunter frustrated.
Yeah.
And not, maybe I'm just expecting him to be super fiery at all times, but there was that time when, I can't remember his name, the Arizona big man elbowed him, and like, you don't need to fight the kid or anything, but he wasn't like super into it, retaliation, which was kind of interesting, which I'm not opposed to. Maybe that could be maturity, but there's just other times where I'm like, it just kind of seems like he's a little frustrated by the situation because, he knows like with what's going on with the shooting and everything. And like, you can't be averaging 11 shots a game like that. That just should not be happening. And I'll be honest, a lack of post-ups.
Yeah. Arizona did a really good job taking him out the game and really make Michigan beat them with their weakness.
Well, like, why don't you think, like, you eventually got to figure it out with double teams? Like, I if you want to figure stuff out now, I would pound the post into the ground right now. I'm like, all right, guys, you need to figure it out. Because I still think last year they weren't super great at it when Hunter got doubled. And like this year, they're, I think being a little more rigid where it's like, okay, we worked on the drills. Now you cut here. And it's like, a little less chemistry there where it's like, feeling out your teammates where I know Caleb's over here, so he's going to stay. So I'm going to cut and like stuff like that, where I think that you just they just need reps and reps and reps and reps. And
the ball sticks a lot more this year too. Like last year when Hunter passed out, Like he would hit someone on one wing, and 2 passes, the ball would be in the opposite corner, like that, like quick.
Yeah.
Now it's almost like guys are like, "Can I get mine? Can I? Okay, no, boom." Then the next guy's like, "Ooh, ooh," and then now once you make that pass, the defense is already recovered. The ball
wild.
isn't really moving.
They were doubling, if I'm not mistaken, doubling off the passer a couple times, if not a lot of the time, and like that's like a death sentence. Like,
yeah, that's like oh my god.
I would pray that someone doubled off me if I was the passer. Like, okay, like move 2 feet to the left or right, and then I got to open 3. But
wait, did this just happen?
Yeah, you're like it'd be shocking, but it was working. So it's like stuff like that where you got to punish. You know, maybe Hunter isn't going to take 10 shots because they're getting double so much, but he'll be involved in the game. He'll be the reason why they score. So,
or maybe force Arizona to change their trapping concept. Maybe you trap from someone else. Why? Because now we have Eli Brooks making the entry. You want to help off him?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
He hits a couple threes. Now they're like, okay, now we have to trap from the top.
See,
make the top guy be Caleb or you know,
you got, let's say Caleb enters it. You got Eli on the opposite wing, Musa down low in the opposite dunker spot, and like Devontae up top, and like, okay, good luck with that.
Right.
Like, where are you going to double from? And because Hunter is a good passer, like he knows where people are. I saw him spin baseline one time and like throw a zip pass, like he knew exactly what was going on. Like he can do it, no problem.
Yeah.
I think again, like I said, it's just reps.
I'm with you. Reps and chemistry, and that starts like people look at these games like Prairie View, like whatever. Like those games are freaking important. Yeah. Like that's where you find out what's going on, where you're really at. Like this game against Tarleton State, probably one of the more important games of the year.
Oh, for sure. I just talked to Mike Smith. I had him on, and I said, like, when did you know you belonged at Michigan last year? And he was like, oh, game 1 versus, and he was like, I know it was Green Bay, but like, that's when I knew, like, that's when I got my confidence and like knew I belonged. And I was like, these games are very important. Like,
so important, bro.
If Caleb hits 4 threes next game, like that could be it. That could be the switch. Like it takes, so it's
100%.
It's important. Yeah.
And like you really don't know how good or bad you are, but when you know. So like in 08, we struggled big time, right? We struggled big time.
Yeah.
But we ended that season 5-5, which compared to the rest of the year was pretty solid, right? And then we go into the off season. You and Zach come in. We treat the off season way different than we did the first one because now we know what we expected, right?
Yeah.
When we scrimmage Kent State, remember JB never beats them in any scrimmage.
Really?
He never beat Kent State in any secret scrimmage. Like,
yeah.
Because like Kent State was always super old, played good defense, and we beat them by like 25 or 30. I'm like,
I remember that being easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, okay, whatever. And then we played Northeastern. Remember they had like Janning, and they had like some like 6'11" cat who was like white dude, a borderline pro.
Yeah.
And we beat them by like 30 or 20.
Yeah. He's still
at that point. I was like, we're pretty good.
Because that was pretty good. Yeah.
And this was before UCLA. This was before Duke and all that.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? Like we have a shot to go to the tournament this year. And I based that on absolutely nothing but Kent State and Northeastern. But the way that we're playing right now as a group, as a team, guys understanding their roles and what they're doing, guys know where everybody is. Everyone's super focused on the scout, super focused on the game ahead. We were never looking 2 games ahead. Like I never knew who we played 2 or 3 games out.
No,
like, all I knew was this was the game, and we just had like a hyper focus. And I think this game against Tarleton, bro, like, I'm going to be looking hard at that game. I want to see who starts the game. That's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, I think that might.
I want to see the rotations. who's the first big in the game, who's the first guard in the game, who's the first off guard in the game. And I'm going to pay attention to that first half hard.
Yeah.
Hard. Because that first half, you can really see what the coaches really want to focus on in that game. If they come out tripping again, I want to be very, very concerned. Very concerned.
No, I mean, this is the one thing I've ever gotten right in projections is like everyone talking about this team being top 5, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, there's so much more to figure out than last year. Like there's so many more question marks, and rotation is a huge thing. Like you can't just fluctuate that all year. You can't play 3 quarterbacks. You can't even play 2 quarterbacks and expect to, win the Super Bowl. Like that's just not what's going to happen. Exactly. And yeah, so like I am less drastic than you, I guess, next game, because I still think like the talent is there. And once they figure out like who is going to play, then, with some possible variations at 7, 8, 9, but like they'll be fine, I think. And I have no worries. Juwan will figure it out. Like why I meant to ask you this earlier. Why was Hunter coming out like 5.5 minutes in?
I don't know.
You think just more testing? I think there's less.
Yeah, I think just finding the rotation. I'm not sure what that was about.
Let me ask you this: is Frankie going to get more minutes going down the rest of the year? Maybe, but he's like, when I say this team doesn't have shooting, like this is no disrespect to him, but in high school, like he just couldn't shoot outside of like 15 feet. I like his driving.
I like his driving, his athleticism, the way he can work the pick and roll.
He's cerebral.
But teams aren't going to respect his shot early on. If he can hit one a game, or if he shoots one and he's making one every other game, then maybe. But that was like one of his biggest things coming into Michigan.
I think there's kind of leeway, I think, sometimes with the forwards and bigs, like maybe situational, like Brandon Johns can start out hot and you keep him playing more. Terrence comes in and starts playing well, you can keep him in. But I think big question mark for me is the guard rotation. Like where you see in the 2 guard spots, like the minutes coming from the most.
This sounds wild. This sounds wild. But first of all, Devontae's got to stop fouling. Could you imagine JB coaching Devontae?
Fouling.
Devontae will be running.
Well, if you foul at the opposite free throw line for your 3rd foul, like good luck. Your legs are dead after that.
Like Devontae will be running gauntlets after every practice for the rest of his life. Yeah. But that would have been fun to watch. But so Devontae, he's got to clean up the mental errors, but I do think he's the guy at the point. Same. Eli Brooks, I think he's got to be more assertive for sure. And then, Kobe Buffkin is coming off the bench right now as that combo guy. Now, I know he's a freshman, but this team needs him to be a little bit more of a scorer on the perimeter. And he was a McDonald's guy. He's got to be more aggressive. I think he played 14 minutes the other night against UNLV, and I swear I forgot he was out there at times, because he was just like he did what I used to do. Like he would catch the ball and then just pass it. He would just be within the offense. Hey, you got it. You got it. Right. And it just felt like he was just floating out there. He wasn't out there being assertive, showing, hey, I belong in this rotation. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to make some plays that other guys are not making. I saw them put in Nunez as well. Nunez, his shot has looked okay. I think whenever Nunez checks in the first half, I think that's an opportunity for him where he needs to get up 3 threes. He needs to get up 3. And if he hits 2, I think coaches will give him a couple more minutes the following game. You got to hit 2 more, right?
Right.
Then now you're in the rotation for quite a bit, because you are someone who this team needs. Maybe he's not top 8 talented, but he's a top 8 need based off of what he can do.
It's very
and people are going to laugh at Nunez because like, oh, Nunez, do you need? I'm like, look, we don't need someone else to come in with bounce and who could jump super high or 6'7" with long wings. We have that. We need a shooter. and if he's going to knock it down, then he has a spot in the rotation. So whoever can provide some perimeter shooting needs to be that next guard for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. You know, we'll end it here. I got one more question for you. You know,
sure.
what does Juwan need to do? I mean, I'm not gonna go into dissecting his decision making too much, but I guess like what's one thing you think they're gonna do or that they need to do from a coaching standpoint in order to, you know, improve going on?
Figure out who your top 9 is based on need.
You go 9, like Beeline hated 8.
Yeah.
Really, he played 6. He
right.
6.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Like, but is 9 too much? Can you play 9? Like, can you get like, I guess, spot 8 and 9 minutes?
Yeah, I think this team is too talented to just play. My bad, man.
No, you're good.
It's my alarm.
That's hilarious.
I think this team is too talented to play 9, and they're not structured. I'm sorry, to play 6 or 7.
Yeah.
They don't have the right pieces in the fold to play 6 or 7. Last year they could have just rolled with like Shondi and Austin Davis off the bench,
right?
And probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
Right. This year they have way too many similar pieces. Like a lot of pieces are very, very similar.
Yeah.
And that's not always a good thing, right?
No.
So they're going to need a little bit more. Like you would be perfect on this team.
Yeah, I think I would. Do
my God,
well. Yeah.
You would do really well on this team.
Yeah.
Well, Zach would do well on this team.
I mean,
like they just need that dude. They just need that dude who was just unconscious, who would shoot 6 to 8 threes a game. Just doesn't matter if they're over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, find your 9 top needed players, not your best 9, but find the 9 that fit and ride them all the way through.
Yeah, makes sense. So what we got? We got Charlton next game. What's the schedule coming up?
Charlton, and I believe they go they're at Carolina.
Oh dang.
Carolina is in like a similar boat that Michigan's in. They got 2 early losses. Granted, so one was a Purdue team that's really freaking good.
Yeah, they are.
Then the other was to Tennessee
and San Diego State. Yeah, this isn't
it's not an easy slate at all whatsoever. A bunch of annoying teams
Carlton
is what's coming up.
Right.
And Carlton. Who are their first Big Ten games? Minnesota and who else?
Nebraska first, and then Minnesota.
They should beat Nebraska. They should beat Minnesota, but Minnesota has been a lot better than a lot of people have anticipated for sure.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I'm sure well, there's a lot more to talk about. It's nice though for us.
Yeah, like, right.
Last year it was like, yeah, this is the team. Like, what do you want?
They won by 30.
Yeah.
You know, who they play? Yeah, you know, a top 10 team.
Yeah.
You know, Franz had 15, 7 blocks, 6 steals. Eli, we didn't know that he was playing, but for some reason he ended up with 15.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Same thing every game.
Right, exactly. So
yeah,
I like this a lot better because I can really show like these are the mistakes. This is why this is happening. Like, okay, they have McDonald's All-Americans, they have returning All-American, but they're making these like 8th grade mistakes that need to be hammered out now. Or Big Ten teams, in my opinion, the best coached conference, they will expose you. They will expose every weakness that you have. Even Fran McCaffrey will, you know. And if Fran can expose you, you're at the mercy of everybody.
Oh, Fran, you just ruined my night. All right, thank you, Aunt.
Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
Murray,
all right.
He's a problem.
They'll be fine. I can't wait to break down more Michigan with you later. This was good. Tell people where they can find you, man.
It's Ant Wright on Twitter. Ant Wright. You could recognize it by the blue shield, the gold shield on YouTube.
The beanie.
Just the shield. Yeah, I got the Nike hat.
And the Periscope, man. I gotta watch some Periscopes. Those were good. I liked them.
Yeah, man. I'll be on there streaming with a bunch of people, just kicking it, chilling, just breaking down the game. They have a bunch of questions. They ask me what's going on with Zeb every 5 minutes.
Of course.
And he got cleared today, so no more questions about him.
Oh,
he got
okay.
cleared today.
So we will see. That'll be more to talk about.
Hey, because Zeb, he's someone who could provide a little bit.
Yeah.
In the guard spot, but we'll see how he is from getting over his illness and all that. We'll see, but he's a guy who, right now, this is best case scenario for him because there's nothing solidified. He could step in and play day one if he comes in and does the right things. For sure.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot, but I think you're right. Opportunities there. That's for sure. There's a lot to figure out. 100%. All right, Ant. I appreciate you, man. And we got a lot more to break down, so we'll talk about more next time.
Yes, sir.
All right, later, dude.